Hello, my name is Sariana Altiti, and this is my composer project over William Byrd. In my first slide, I talked about his biography, some important dates, and places where he lived and worked. So first off, he was born in London, most likely in Lincolnshire in England, in 1543. He died July 4th, 1623, in Essex, England, and he was buried at the London Cathedral, which would become of great importance to him, and that's why he was buried there. So his first appointment was an organist at the Lincoln Cathedral in 1563, and thereafter he joined the Chapel Royal, where he shared organist duties with his greatest mentor, Thomas Dallas, in 1572. Some important things about him was he was obviously an English organist and one of the greatest keyboard players of his time during the Renaissance, and he was one of the greatest composers of his time. That was all due to his mentor, Thomas Dallas. September 14th of 1568, Byrd met his soon-to-be wife, Julian Burleigh, during his work at the Lincoln Cathedral. In my second slide, I talked about his musical education and where he studied at and with whom. So he was one of Thomas Dallas's greatest pupils and proteges. His music education included working at the London Cathedral, and where he then moved to the Chapel Royal with his mentor Thomas Dallas. His other colleagues included Giovanni Palestrina and Orlando de Lassus. My third slide talked about his musical contributions and different instruments and genres. So obviously his instrument was the keyboard, and he was an organist at some churches. And so Byrd provided music for different groups of instruments, obviously besides his own. He was a well-known organist and keyboard player. He composed secular songs with accompaniment of different types of instruments, so a lot of variety and range. He wrote a variety of types of music for the virginals, fantasias, pavans, and galliards. And that also included the fashionable paired dances of the time of his time, which would be like the Renaissance, and different song variations. Then his virginal and organ music brought the English keyboard style to new heights, and his own secular vocal music was distinctly conservative. He was more old-fashioned than different composers. So he was famous for his development of the English madrigal, and he also wrote virginal and organ music that elevated the English keyboard style, as mentioned before. And he was really influenced by Thomas Dallas. He was his pupil. So he learned a lot from him. Besides working from him, they had a personal and professional relationship. So his famous works, I tried to include as much as I could. So the death of Thomas Dallas was very important to him, and it actually inspired a couple of these famous works of his. So the death of Tallis in 1585, Christius Resurgens in 1605, which was a Easter responsory, which is a type of piece played in churches, I believe. Alleluia Confetimini, sorry for the butchering. One of his most important and probably the most popular piece he did was a Mass of 4 voices in the early 1590s, which also included the Mass of 3 voices, I believe, and then the Mass of 5 voices. I'm not sure if they were different ones though. There was also Ye Sacred Muses, the Bateau, which actually was my favorite out of all the pieces I listened to. Psalms, sonnets, and songs of sadness and piety, which I think was dedicated also to Tallis, and songs of sundries and natures. And the final one I found was Cantonine's Sacre, which was his highest consistent level in his Latin sacred music. Here is where I put my song, the Bateau, and the works cited.